Hello and welcome back. I'm Jen, and this is The Pilot Principle, the podcast where I simultaneously tell you to never judge a series by its pilot and go on to judge a series by its pilot. In today's episode, we're giving a once over at the pilot episode of One Piece. Right, first things first, the credits. Then after that, I'll talk a little bit about what the pilot episode specifically is about. Then chat about the opening, the characters, and then tick off my favourite and least favourite parts of the episode. I'm quite excited about this one, so let's just get into it. The pilot title for One Piece is Romance Dawn, which is very mysterious. And there's something romantic about this title. I don't even know what it means, to be perfectly honest with you. Is there going to be a air of love about it? Dawn, breaking dawn, start of a new day? Is romance beginning on this fresh new day? I can speculate for ages. Essentially, it's about none of these things. But it's a nice, catchy title. So the episode length, I literally nearly fell out of my chair when I saw it was a whopping hour and 4 minutes. I mean, with me and television, when it comes to that first episode, in fact, when it comes to any episode, because, we've all got things to be doing in the day and it's so difficult to carve out time to just sit and watch a film or your favorite episode, whether it's new or a rewatch, without thinking about all the things you've got to do once you finished. So, like I said, I nearly fell out my chair when I saw that the first episode was an hour and 4 minutes, and I was like, do I want to watch this now? And essentially, I put off watching this episode for a good week because committing to that hour and 4 minutes just wasn't the one. But I did it. That's the main thing. I, talked myself up, gave myself some encouragement to sit down for an hour and 4 minutes. And I'm glad I did. The pilot episode, Romance Dawn, was written by the show's creators. So that's Matt Owens and Stephen Medea. Medea is also the showrunner and has written for various programs and show ran for a few programs as well since the 2000s, which include The X-Files, CSI Miami and Lost, but One Piece is his first show since 2018. The pilot episode was directed by Mark Jobst, who has also directed a few random episodes of television, including Jupiter's Legacy. Does anybody remember that with Josh Duhamel? I kind of liked it. It got cancelled after one season, but I thought it was a good watch, and that twist ending. And let's move on. He has also directed episodes of The Witcher, and on the Marvel side, he has directed episodes of The Punisher, Luke Cage, and Daredevil. And for anybody who wants to dive real deep into his archives, he's actually directed episodes of EastEnders, Casualty, and Waterloo Road. One Piece has an ensemble cast, which is led by Iñaki Godoy as Monkey D. Luffy. It stars Emily Rudd as Nami, Makeyu as Roronoa Zoro, Morgan Davies as Kobe, and Vincent Reagan as the Vice Admiral. Now, I didn't really recognise anybody except for Vincent Reagan, and it's funny, he's one of those actors that I can't quite put my finger on where I've watched him in, but his face and his voice is just familiar to me. One Piece is showing on Netflix with a series length of 8 episodes, which seems to be the average. Before we dive into the pilot episode, Romance Dawn, let's take a quick detour to talk about where One Piece comes from. It's originally based on manga comics, which are written and illustrated by Achio Oda, which has 106 volumes and counting. I'm not a manga or comic fan, so I don't know what that means in terms of volume numbers, but 106 is a big number. It's over 100. As well as the manga comics, there are 18 animated movies, video games, and an animated series which began in 1999 and is still going today, clocking in at, ready for this? 1,075 episodes. I did not stutter, people. 1,075 episodes so far. The series is still going. This is all to emphasize what a big deal this live action remake of One Piece means to so many people. It's got a following that dates back, so it has to be good. There are a lot of people who are watching and waiting to see what One Piece, the live action remake, is going to do. With myself, I actually do have some foreknowledge of One Piece. There was a time actually where they were showing the animated series on Cartoon Network, I'll have you know, back in the day. It didn't last for very long actually. I think it only was on for about a year, maybe 2 years. And from what I've been told, what we were shown was a very watered down version of what the animated series and the manga comics depict, both in language and some of the sort of violent graphic scenes that can take place. Even though I sort of watched it back in the day, I don't really remember much. It's all a bit of a colourful blur to me. The theme song, I will say, is incredibly catchy. And if I really think about it, I don't have to think that hard. I could probably start singing the theme song for you right now, but we'll save that for another podcast. Now, let's get off memory lane and drive down Pilot Place. The pilot episode. The first thing to note is this is a world of pirates, and the objectives of three strangers quickly overlap in Shellstown, a port that is run by Marines who are enforcers of the law and aren't the biggest fan of pirates. We have wannabe pirate Monkey D. Luffy and a mysterious, quick-witted thief called Nami who are after a map to the Grand Line. The Grand Line is a legendary place where all this treasure awaits. Now, the map to the Grand Line is kept under lock and key within this specific marine base. So Nami and Monkey D. Luffy have broken in to try and find the map. On their way out, they are surrounded by Marines and have to fight their way out. While they're fighting their way out of the marine base, they are joined by Roronoa Zoro, who is a pirate hunter, and he helps Nami and Monkey D. Luffy escape, and he himself is actually an escaped prisoner from within the marine base. And the three of them then head off into the sunset, or the romantic dawn, maybe? And now that we have an overview of the episode as a whole, let's break it down and look at the opening. Now, I typically try to look at the first 10 minutes of the pilot episode because that's where I was always taught you have to be the most engaging in order to keep a reader or an audience. But in this case, we'll look at the first 15-ish minutes because it's an hour and 4-minute episode. So looking at the first 10 minutes, you don't quite get all the meat and bones. But after the first 15 minutes, you have a solid understanding of where the entire episode is going. I thought the setup was fantastic for those first 15 minutes. Essentially, we start with a bit of a backstory, and we have this pirate named Gold Roger who is being put on display as he's about to be executed by the Marines. He is supposed to be known as the most fiercest pirate that there ever was, and he has accumulated power and wealth, and he's about to be executed, and everybody's like, hey, Gold Roger, where'd you keep your treasure? And to the hordes and hordes of people who have come out to watch his execution, because this is a big deal for the Marines who have captured one of the fiercest pirates in all of the land. But instead, what they end up doing is giving him an audience, and he says to his audience that all of his wealth, everything that he's accumulated, can be found in the Grand Line. He calls his treasure One Piece. Pirates have all set sail for a location, the Grand Line, searching for One Piece, which will make them king of the pirates. We then flip to 22 years later, and there's this boy on a tiny little rowboat in the middle of the ocean, and his boat is sinking. To save himself, he hops into a barrel and then is picked up by a massive pirate ship, which is being run by someone called Captain Alvida. Captain Alvida is a mean-ass pirate, and she is keeping prisoner somebody called Kobe, who dreams of escaping and joining the Marines. With Luffy, the two of them manage to escape Alvida's ship. But during this escape, the boy on the boat reveals that he's actually got powers. His body can stretch and stretch and stretch. And with the stretching, I guess, comes some sort of strength. And then someone says, who are you? He says, I'm Monkey D. Luffy, and I'm going to be king of the pirates. And that is where the first 15 minutes comes to a close. So it starts with a strong backstory, and we've met the central protagonist and we know what his main goal is. So yeah, those first 15 minutes were pretty impactful, and I've already got questions. I'm like, why do you stretch like this? What do you mean, king of the pirates? You above all people who we just met talking to a seagull in the middle of an ocean, you're going to be king of the pirates? But you know what? He's a sweet lad and I believe in him, which is a great segue to talking about the main character. characters. So the boy in the boat we meet, his name is Monkey D. Luffy, and he always wears a straw hat. He's got like a red waistcoat, and he is oddly and to some infuriatingly optimistic. And his whole shtick is trying to be a different kind of pirate and show that pirates don't have to have that connotation of being complete and utter douchebags. Next, we meet Kobe, who is a bit of a wimp. He's got light pink hair, large circular glasses, and he wants to be a marine. We don't know why he is a prisoner of Captain Alvida, how long he's been on Captain Alvida's ship. We just know that Captain Alvida treats him like shit, and he is happy to escape when Monkey D. Luffy comes along. Him and Monkey D. Luffy become friends, but of course marines are, their whole job is to take in pirates and put pirates away. So they are friends now, but at some point down the line, we understand that they may be enemies. Next, we meet Nami, who we don't actually know much about. She is cunning, she is smart, she's quick, and we find her and watch as she infiltrates the marine base and tries to steal a map to the Grand Line. We don't know what her motivations are at all, but yeah, she seems quite fun. And as soon as she meets Luffy, she is just like, hey dude, get out of my way, happy smiley dude, what the hell are you doing here? Or if you have to come along, just be quiet about it. Because of course Luffy also is looking for a map to the Grand Line, which I think is quite funny. How does everybody not know where the Grand Line is? Why is this a secret? Haven't pirates been trying to get there for the last 22 years? Me no comprende. We also meet Roronoa Zoro. He is a pirate hunter. He's got green hair and carries 3 swords and just looks cool AF. He's the sort of strong, quiet type, but also won't watch as innocent people are getting harmed. That's what gets him into trouble and puts him into prison on the marine base. We don't know why he's a pirate hunter. Of course, it's the pilot episode. We are just teased little bits of information, but of course there's going to be something there. Actually, one thing about this world is that the pirates are being hunted by the marines, but there's a price on all of their head, and the currency that they work in is berry, so there's a big berry on their head. In terms of antagonists within the pilot episode, we kind of come across 4. The main antagonist is Captain Axehand Morgan, who is head of the marine base that Monkey D. Luffy and Nami break into. Captain Morgan has an axe for a hand, as you can imagine. He's narcissistic and bullish, and he's essentially the main antagonist of the episode. We of course have come across Captain Alvida, who is a pirate and is just a bit of a meanie bombini, and at the very top of the episode we meet the Vice Admiral, and he's the person who was responsible for capturing and executing Gold Roger, so I suppose he's kind of a big deal. Then at the very end of the episode we meet Buggy. Buggy is a pirate clown. He's exactly what you think of when you think clown, and I'm guessing you're thinking of the Joker, or one of the renditions of the Joker. It's scarier, or it's basically a very scary pirate clown who seems to be incredibly furious at his underling that somebody has stolen the map to the Grand Line. That's what we're working with in terms of antagonists within the pilot episode. Now, I will say with One Piece, it seems like there's a lot to get into and break down. As I mentioned, there are over 1,000 episodes of the animated series and over 100 manga comics that have been made. So I'm sure there's a lot of backstory and there's a lot of history to get into. I will say that the pilot episode was outlined very well. Like, they're trying to make sure that nobody gets confused. There were a lot of on-the-nose statements, but I wasn't really mad at it because it helped anchor plot, character, driving force. I'm not sure if that's going to continue, but for the pilot episode, it was great. So you have things like, I'm Monkey D. Luffy and I'm going to be king of the pirate. You have the narrator at the beginning starting off with, this is a world of pirates. So there's no reason for you to misunderstand certain things here. In terms of what I am not quite sure about is the tone. Like, I can't quite work it out. It feels a bit zany and like you're almost watching a children's program, but then somebody slices somebody in half and you can see their innards and you're like, okay then. You have a guy in a straw hat who's like a really chirpy individual, and then suddenly you've got someone with 3 swords slicing hands and faces off or what have you. And as well as that, the characters, the way they're dressed, the way they're styled, their hair colors, sort of bright, bold, and of course they're trying to emulate their manga characters, but at the same time, when you transpose that into the real world, does it work, does it not work? I'm honestly not quite sure. And whenever we meet a pirate, their wanted poster flashes on screen and sort of like drifts in and drifts away and shows their face, their name, and how many berries that they're wanted for. I mean, it's cool. It's good to know, and it's quite interesting to see. But again, in terms of the tone, is this something that's going to be quite fantastical? Is it something serious? Is it something a little bit outlandish and a little bit zany and a little bit crazy, or is it something? I don't know. I don't know what it is, to be honest. Or perhaps I don't have to know what it is. Perhaps it is exactly what it's telling me it is, and it's all of the above. And that's how the entire series is going to feel. Now, in terms of the serial arc, I don't know. I mean, Monkey D. Luffy is wants to recruit Nami as his navigator and Roronoa Zoro as, I don't know, his swordsman, his swordsperson. And Monkey is always like, you guys are a great addition to this crew, and the other two are like, we're not a crew. So I'm guessing there'll be tones of sort of them all realizing one day that they are actually a crew because they've decided to follow this pirate who wants to be a different kind of pirate. We don't really know much about Nami. As I say, we sort of meet her as she's stealing somebody's uniform and breaking into the marine base, and she wants a map to the Grand Line, but who knows why. We also get snatches of Monkey D. Luffy's history as a child, so I'm guessing we'll get into a bit more of how he became the person he is today, how he got his straw hat that he seems to love so much, why he wants to be a different kind of pirate. So I'm sure we'll get into all of that as the series progresses. Of course, why the hell is Zoro out here trying to be a pirate hunter? Where did he learn his sword skills from? He does say to Luffy in the pilot episode that he wants to be the greatest swords person that there ever was. So I presume within the series, we will watch as he develops his skills, perhaps learns a bit more. It's hard to say. And of course, there's Kobe. So that is Monkey D. Luffy's friend that he liberated from Captain Alvida's pirate ship. He's gone off to join the Marines, and Marines and pirates, they can't be friends. So I'm guessing at some point that will circle back, whether that's a case of Kobe having to decide what's more important to him, friendship versus the Marines. And of course, there's the map to the Grand Line. Will they make it to the Grand Line by the end of the series? I don't know. Sounds like everybody's on their way there, so perhaps it'll be quite a fight and a battle for them to get there. When they do get there, what will they find? So that's where I'm thinking the series might be heading. And this is all just from what I've watched in the pilot episode. We also learned that the reason Monkey D. Luffy can stretch so much and so far in what looked to be his superpower is because he ate a devil fruit when he was younger. Now, the devil fruit is what gave him this gum gum power, but it comes at a cost. And the cost is that Luffy can't swim. Like seawater, salt water, what have you, ocean water will be his demise. Considering water could kill him, I think Monkey D. Luffy should be a lot more terrified of water than he actually is. This guy was out here in a rowboat that was sinking at the beginning of the episode, and he was just smiling as if it was another sing-song day. At the end of the episode, Monkey D. Luffy, Roronoa Zoro, and Nami are sailing off into the night with the map to the Grand Line in their possession. We then circle back to the Vice Admiral, who we haven't seen since the start of the episode, 22 years ago, and he is on the hunt for the straw-hatted pirate and his crew. Oh yeah, and of course we meet Buggy, the, cross between an actual circus clown and all the clowns from your nightmares. So yeah, by the end of the episode, we've got two people after this little ragtag crew, and it's enough for me to be like, what's gonna happen next? Where are you guys going? Can I come? Where's the Grand Line? How far is the Grand Line? Oh, and by the way, you've got a clown on your tail. Oh, and also an admiral. Overall, the main thing for me is that Romance Dawn had a fantastic setup for a pilot episode. It was really well crafted, and talking a little bit as somebody who has watched some of the original anime series, I will say that it's also pretty well adapted so far. I mean, nobody come for me. It was a very long time ago that I watched the animated series, and I have no idea where the rest of this live action is going to go. But yeah, overall, I wasn't mad, and it actually made me feel a little less nervous about the upcoming Avatar: The Legend of Aang Netflix adaptation, I will say. Do you know what? For me, I will say it is one part nostalgia that makes me want to continue the series, and one part curiosity. There is nothing like this on television at the moment. It's an easy watch, despite it being over an hour and not quite understanding the tone. It was an easy watch, and it's something that I can very quickly just be like, let me just see what happens in episode 2. So I think I will go ahead and see what happens in episode 2. Although I wouldn't quite recommend it to everybody, I will say if you're quite open-minded about the TV that you watch, then it's definitely worth investing the hour and 4 minutes, yes, I will not let that go, to see what you think. But now that I've hashed out the fundamental principles of One Piece Episode 1 Romance Dawn, will you be giving the pilot episode a watch? Alternatively, have you already binged the entire 8-episode series? Either way, let me know over on Twitter/X at Pilot Principle, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Aww.